three BSFs for the price of one. Today I'm going to be covering BSF Malaysia, BSF White Plains, and BSF Belgium, and the top decks from each of the top 3 teams at every event. So before we get into that, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our Patreon subscribers, so Rockstar and Jorolf in particular, and we've got a bunch of features if you guys want to check that out. And so going back to the deck list, so we've got Ramp Dragon from the 3rd place team, so very standard deck list. Nothing really to call out except that they're running 2 copies of Aggro Blood. The card's very strong if you manage to ramp to 10 very fast. So essentially, the banish effect can come in quite useful against a variety of meta decks, especially Control Abyss. But this is pretty standard. It's basically what you've seen plenty of times before. The next deck is Control Abyss. So this one, again, the main call out here is that he's running 2 copies of Wardrobe Raider. So this card, it has the effect where you evolve it for 0, and then you can pick any follow on the field, including itself, and then you can pop an enemy follow on the enemy field. So it's a reasonable card, right? It's 3 mana to clear anything. So yeah, I like it. And then also they're just running 2 copies of Undying Resentment to basically charge up their necro charge. But yeah, overall it plays exactly the same way. So you fill up your graveyard, you Zazel, drop them to 10, and then you start controlling them with Lelouch. So that's Control Abyss. Mid-range Elephant. So let's see, is anything strange about this? They're running 1 copy of Ivy Spellbomb. We don't see this all the time, but it's a good card. It's one of the few cards that can one-shot a 5/5 Ancient Elf, for instance, and it does burn damage in the late game. They're running 2 copies of Inviolable Verdancy, and they're running 1 copy of Floral Breeze for the extra bounce. But yeah, nothing else to really call out about this deck list. Looks like they cut the roast here to add those in. Okay, so 2nd place decks, again, you get a mid-range Elephant. We're going to be seeing a lot of this today. I mean, obviously it's the best deck in the format, so it's not surprising. The main changes here is that they're running 2 copies of Flower Princess, so very good to deter aggression. Can combo 3 to ping something for 3 damage, can put Fairies in the EX and to charge up Cassiopeia, or use it for other combo plays. Great card. It's only running 2 copies of Tia. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think it's one of the better cards of the deck. Basically, you combo it and you get a massive board advantage, so I usually want to run 3, but instead they're running 3 copies of Tweedledum, Tweedledee, so this is kind of like your consistency engine. So you evolve it, it's 3/3, and you can potentially search any 1 mana card from the top cards of your deck. So I think this was also run by a previous regional winner, so overall Tweedledum, decent card. And they're also running 1 copy of the Ivy Spellbomb. And that's pretty much it in terms of like the Chris GG stack. Okay, moving along, we've got Stormhaven. So we don't see this one too often, actually. I think it's one of the first ones I've seen all expansion, top an event. But looks like it's a very cheap deck, only 75 USD. Basically, the core concept is you drop a bunch of Ward or Storm followers, and then you can buff them with Bejeweled Shrine, or you can bring them back with Diamond Master. So, and they can also be buffed by various cards like this one, so it gives +1 attack to any card with Storm or Ward. So the idea is basically you smoke their face. You know, it's one of the what's the word? If you don't want to play Hero Sword, this is an acceptable aggro option as well. So that's Stormhaven for you. I won't go through all the cards too much because you only need to know the general concept, right? Which is that it just goes face repeatedly. Okay, cool. So Control Abyss. What are they running that's different from the other list? Okay. So not only are they running 2 copies of the Wardrobe Raider that we saw from the previous, but they're also running 2 copies of the Devilish Flautist. So this is very interesting, right? Because you have to discard a random card. You don't get to choose. So although it's very strong because it's got Drain and Rush, so it heals for 4, right? But I mean, it feels really bad if you accidentally discard. Let's just say you discard like your Death Breath, or yeah, your Death Breath in particular, right? That'll feel like absolutely awful, or your Marazensky. But healing 4 can't actually be underestimated in this meta. So, and also if you get lucky, you can actually discard your Israfil as well. So, I do think it's an interesting card choice. I can definitely see it actually. Yeah, you run pretty low on HP, and you get to a point in the game state where the only thing that really matters is like that you just have the HP to survive. And that card can get you there. And also 4 damage rush is not something to scoff at, especially if it doesn't die in the process. So I can see it. Cool, moving along. So we've got Discard Dragon. Okay, so this list, it is running execution again. That's kind of interesting. So they don't want to run the 5 PP version. Like there are times when 4 play points is a lot easier to play than 5 play points from the lightning blast. So I can see it. And it's kind of it's not running many new cards. So it's running 2 copies of the Dragon Fist. And it's running 1 Surefire Bullet instead of the 3rd Dragon Fist. So I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, obviously this hits more cards. So for example, this can hit any 4/4 if it's evolved. And of course, this is not a quick spell, but I just wonder about that. I mean, I guess, honestly, it doesn't really matter. Like, they fulfill similar purposes. And I guess, like, because, like, you have to play in Swiss and then you have to play in top 8 after. And, like, people will talk. They'll be like, oh, he used Surefire Bullet on me or whatever. And so, like, that type of thing kind of carries over to future rounds and people might play safer or, like, play around Surefire Bullet even though it runs 1, because you don't know their exact deck list, but people talk. So maybe that's the angle. I don't know if I agree with 2 Dragon Warrior as well. I think you should generally run 3, but yeah, overall, I don't really have an issue with the list. Discard Dragon's still a very strong deck. Okay, cool. So Egghaven, so Juicy Kragi number 1. When I saw this list, I really liked it personally. So it's going to like a very aggro build. Main has Aura, which is surprisingly annoying to deal with. Like in the early game, this is basically guaranteed to get the 2 or 3 damage on the board. So I think the main idea is you go very aggressive and then, you discard your entire hand, but you don't care because you've already taken like 10 damage from the early drops. So yeah, I like this deck list a lot. Main is a card that has popped up a bunch over this particular weekend, and we'll get into that in future tournaments. And then we've got Hero Sword. So I think the team name of this was Heroic Entry into Mac Knight. So if they managed a Heroic Entry into Mac Knight, it's no wonder that they won. So yeah, we haven't seen that much Hero Sword recently, but obviously it's a very strong deck, especially the Heroic Entry into Mac Knight. They're not running anything super interesting. I think they're running 3 copies of Luminous Knight. So again, this card is one of the best kind of aggro tools against any deck other than Forest. I'm surprised they run 3, to be honest. It's really bad against Elfchild May, I will say, but it's fantastic against like pretty much every other deck. I mean, it smashes Dragon in particular. Egghaven as well. They have issues dealing with this. In the early game, like you slam it, they don't clear it immediately. It's just permanent +1 damage for until eventually they're eggy, right? But by then they've taken so much damage. So yeah, I kind of like this list, but I do have my reservations in terms of the Forest matchup. Okay, moving along. So BSF Malaysia. So Ramen, I think he was like the Singaporean Worlds representative. Anyway, switch to Egghaven. I know him as a controlled Haven player usually, but yeah. So this list is very similar to the one that Juicy Kragi run, except they're running 3 copies of Goblin Princess. So obviously this can search either Feria or Goblin. So again, it's a very aggro take. So they just want to chip your damage, chip the enemy leader early, and all of these cards kind of like fulfill a similar purpose to that. So yeah, I like it. Dimension Shift is the next deck. So we don't see too much Dimension Shift recently. Giant Chimera has been, shall we say, the favored meta choice for many remains, but I think it's still playable. Okay, let's have a look at the deck list. So they're running all the standard spells. They're running Magic Alpha in the new set, Chain of Calling to help them search into the Flame Destroyer, and they're running a bunch of removal options. Okay, so it's pretty similar to what you would usually expect. Also, they're running 2 copies of Highlands, so this card's very good. Sends a bunch of spells to the grave, and then it can basically clear stuff and recover play points. Yeah, this card's great. But yeah, I mean, Dimension Shift is always going to be Dimension Shift. It might be a bit too slow for the current meta, but I guess they made it work. Cool. Mid-range Elephant. So, 3 copies of Ivy Storm. Okay, this is the first person I've seen run 3 copies. Look, I think this card is good. This card basically clears, like, for example, Dragon Warrior, Ancient Elf. I mean, 5 HP is like a huge amount of damage for 1 card to be doing, and plus it does 3 damage to the enemy face in late game. I can see it. But what I can't see is running 2 copies of Cassiopeia. That card's busted. I don't know. I mean, the rest of the deck seems fine, but oh, and also 2-tier, which I don't agree with either. I mean, I would just cut 2 copies of this and just put a tier in like Cassiopeia, but whatever. I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure it was fine. Okay, moving along. Ram Dragon. So, let's see. Okay, so the interesting part is that they're running 2 copies of Bahamut, 2 copies of Genesis Dragon, and 2 copies of Israfil. So I feel like generally they run 3 copies of Israfil. I don't know if that's like a price consideration. Probably not, because this deck's super expensive, and like what's one more Israfil, right? But yeah, I do like 2 Genesis, because Genesis is a great follow-up if any of your other big guys survive, but let's see. Yeah, this is just a super standard list. It's just that they've decided to run second Baha, second Genesis, and then cut the Lightning Blast and cut 1 copy of Israfil. It's fine. Lightning Blast is not always great. I think it's situationally good, which means you can cut it if you prefer. You know, if you do prefer a big body as opposed to like quick play removal. And also, like a lot of the time people won't even know that you've cut the Lightning Blast, so they might play around it, so you can like bluff it. Like if you're playing against Elephant, you just leave like 5 play points open, and then they won't play Elephant, even if they suspect you might not run Lightning Blast. Okay, mid-range Elephant, so I did say we would be seeing a huge amount of this. 2 copies of Iris Spellworm, 2 copies of Tier, 2 copies of Cassiopeia. Oh wait, that's 3. It's 3. CC. Always get caught by this. Yeah, I like this list generally. I guess maybe 2-tier is a standard now, based on how many lists we've been seeing that only run 2. I think it's kind of hilarious that this guy's name is just here for promos, and they came second. So they really did come really close to getting the big promo, but oh. So Hero Sword again. Okay, so they're running 3 copies of Flail Knight as opposed to the 3 copies of the Luminous Knight. So this is my preferred 2-drop for this set. I think it was kind of insane, especially against Forest. But yeah, apart from that, the list is... Oh, what the hell is this? Okay, they're running 2 copies of Royal Banner. I haven't seen this card since BP04, bro. I guess it's fine if you have a big board, and then your Storm followers are bigger. I don't know. It seems a bit sus to me. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, and then 2 copies of Tsubaki, which is also a bit sus, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's Storm. It's removal. I guess it's alright. I haven't seen this card since BP01 as well. Crazy. But I can see it. I can see it working. I really could. And Royal Banner, I think, is not good though. But like, if your opponent just doesn't clear board, or you play 4 Offenser and it like sticks on the board and you play that, I guess it's game winning. Interesting deck. Alright, Aggro Abyss. So, Aggro Abyss. Wait, what the hell? Okay, Aggro Abyss. Okay, cool. So, let's see. 2 Vite, 2 Pumpkin, Trick Dillahan. Okay. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like this list a lot, actually. I think even the 1-drop ratio is pretty good, like 2 Bellringer. I mean, I do think Aggro Abyss actually does need a bit of cycle, to be perfectly honest. Plus, like, if you have one of those tabs where you don't have much, what's the word, sticking potential, or like you can search for Goblin Princess to actually make sure you draw additional cards, so you can kind of dig into your Soul Conversion, or dig into your Burn, or dig into your 5-cost threats, for instance. So like, yeah, I think I like this list, and it's also cheap too. Mid-range Elephant, so man, these guys are actually cooking. Damn. All right. 2 copies of Elven Princess Mage. So again, it's not a card I've seen in a very long time, but let me think about the use case of this. So okay, it goes in the EX zone. It fills up for Cassiopeia. You can use it to proc your Verdant. You can use it to proc your Sakuna to become huge. You can use it to tier, Nelsha, and Beetle Warrior. These guys are actually cooking, but I don't hate it, honestly. Like, because if you think about it, like, imagine you do something like you curve Elven Princess Mage, right? And then on turn 4, you play like 2 Wisp, or like 1 Wisp and a 1 PP spell, and then you play like the Beetle Warrior or something like that. It's actually pretty strong. I mean, you know, you're hitting them in the face with a 4-5, and then they have to deal with that. And a lot of decks don't have great ways to deal with that. I kind of like this list. Yeah, I like it. It's good that we're like actually seeing a little bit of innovation here, because like I was like gonna sound like a broken record if I'm just like, oh, well, this one's running like 2 LV spell bombs instead of 1, but like it's actually like a different list, so that's nice. And then Leo Sword. So again, I swear, yeah, I've always felt like Leo Sword is a lot better than people give it credit for. It's just like sort of overshadowed by Hero Sword a lot of the time, but I mean, this list seems pretty good to me, I'm not gonna lie. But I think like the key concept is obviously you want to reach turn 6 so you can play Leo and evolve it. But then after you evolve it, you got like a massive toolbox. You can go Mars, you can search like any of these officers, including wards. Also, like your opponent can't really like completely ignore like your early followers too. And then you've even got like this combo of Gawain, so you play like Gawain and then you like, you know, use Armor of Stars or something. Like, you know, this list seems surprisingly functional. I would like to test it. I'm not gonna lie. And it's cheap as well. Like a lot of these cards from BP01, and they're no longer expensive. Like a lot of these cards don't even see play in Hero Sword, right? Which means the prices drop significantly. Probably the most expensive card in the deck is just Mars, and then after that, everything is dirt cheap. I like it. Malaysia BSF. Like I like to see like this team that was like literally cooking in all 3 deck lists actually won the event. That's really cool. All right, final one, BSF 2024 Belgium. Okay, so first deck, Giant Chimera Rune. So okay, nothing out of the ordinary here. It's just a very standard list. It doesn't run any of the crazy tech. It doesn't run like the like any of the amulets, for instance. It runs 1 copy of Giant Dazzling Healer. And I don't seem to see concentration. I might be blind. Yeah, it doesn't run any healing apart from the 1 copy of Dazzling Healer. Which is quite interesting. Usually people run at least 1 copy of concentration because you can loop with Merlin in an emergency, but oh, that's that one. Umimisme, I love this deck still. It's running a list that is so 3 copies of Sand Sky. I like this in the current meta because you do want to push aggressively. I like the 3 copies of 2-1. What I don't really understand is like why would you run Makitanet 10 House or whatever? I mean, like, there's not many decks that really use amulets right now, so it's probably going to be a dead card in this current set. And then, like, I don't know if they can actually proc 7 centimeters ahead, but otherwise, it was always a good choice. Yeah, I like it. Moving along, so Control Abyss. Interesting. So they are taking a lot of the tech cards from the original list that won an earlier BSF. So they're running 2 copies of Right Shower. I think the interesting part to me is that they've cut down to 1 copy of Israfil. So the thing about Israfil is like it's really good when it's in the grave, and it's like pretty much garbage when it's in your hand. And like I guess like they just wanted it to like sort of say that they do have it, but yeah, I actually don't mind cutting Israfil. It's been pretty underwhelming because my luck is terrible with this deck. And then 3 copies of Azazel. I like this too. I mean, you can win without Israfil, but you can't win without Azazel, right? So yeah, I like running 3 just to up your consistency. Overall, it's a good list, I think. I like a lot of the choices they made. I mean, they made changes, right? They're running 3 copies of Less Mummy instead of 2. Compared to that previous BSF list, they're running 3 copies of Soul Conversion. Yeah, a lot of this stuff lines up. I like it in general. Okay, this may Call Me Clear. I think he went to Worlds as well. Let's see. 1 copy of Marizensky. I like that. I do like it. It's good against aggro matchups in particular. Plus, it's just neck 4 with Necrocharge 10. 2 copies of Nice Nature. You rarely ever see this, but it could be good, honestly. I mean, the thing is, right, it doesn't get a stat boost when you rush it, but it does neg 1 something on the field, and then you can just crash it in and make it a discard, potentially. It's weird, like, I've never seen anyone actually play this vanilla, but I don't think it's bad. It's mainly because it's not like discard a random card, it's just discard any card, so, to ask Clear how he felt about this card, like, on the day. can see it. It doesn't seem great, but it's not bad either. Yeah, and then 2 copies of Ancient Flash. I think I would say just run 3 copies. This card's insane. It's like one of your like best outs to like Crystalliate here, which you're gonna see. 2 copies of the My Solo Drawn to Raindrop Drums, so it's very good to clear Elephant in particular. So I mean, it kind of makes sense. And then 2 copies of Guri, 1 copy of Norita Brian. Yeah, I like this list more than the other list, to be honest. It's also running 3 copies of the Shinko Windy, just to other consistency a bit. I guess I prefer the 2 on Rush one, but this is okay. If you just want to tempo early game. Okay, Ramp Dragon. So okay, it's running the 1 copy of Nightwood. Nicely, I approve of that. I approve of it. So basically, like, this card is basically Pot of Greed every single turn. Like, once you're in a position to play this, it feels really good. Means you can never run up cards. Does get cleared by Baja, but like, 2 copies of the Goblin Princess. So this only searches Belrior. That's good enough, and you can evolve when you get a 6/6. So yeah, it's an interesting list. I don't really have any issues with it. I think it's fine. Hero Sword. So okay, so Light has opted for the 3 copies of Luminous Knight. I think it's good. Luminous Knight, as I said before, it's very good against any deck other than Forest. And like, to be honest, it's even good against Forest if they just don't open with May. To be perfectly honest, right? So yeah, Hero Sword. The thing is, like, he's also running Leonidas, which a lot of people have been cutting recently. So I do think Leo is good for late game insurance. I think yeah, it is worth playing 1 copy of it, and then 1 copy of Narita Brian just for the unavoidable 5 burn damage. Yeah, I like the list in general. Okay, so first place deck list, mid-range Elephant, so Project Red. He's running 3 copies of Flower Princess, which I wait. Okay, no. This is not mid-range Elephant. I think I know what happened here. It's because okay, I'll get this fixed. This is not mid-range Elephant. This is Beauty and the Beast Forest. In fact, I think someone messaged me and told me about this. Okay, let's have a look. So, it is definitely a different deck list from like the Beauty and the Beast build that I use, but I can see it, to be honest. It uses Tier to get the tempo. It has Crystalia Lily to clear enemy boards. Suzuka as well as an alternate poke condition. And then you actually are reliant on Beauty and the Beast to finish the game. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I think this is something that I would definitely consider testing if I were the Forest player for BSF. But I am not the Forest player for our BSF, so I probably won't be testing it, but it looks pretty solid to me. It's a definitely viable build of Beauty and the Beast Forest. Okay, moving along. So Egghaven, again, like I mentioned earlier, like the menu seems to be picking up a lot of steam recently. I'm not sure where the trend came from, but I mean, I think it's pretty good. And then also running 2 copies of the Golden Princess, so we saw that with the Malaysia list earlier as well. And they're also still running 2 copies of Rapunzel. So this card did kind of drop off a lot with the recent expansion, but I guess, you know, if you're going first, you drop a 4/5 ward and you can threaten to give it a token. It's still pretty strong, to be honest, but it's definitely not as good in the late game. So I can kind of see it. You can snowball games, but yeah, apart from that, I do like the list. It's just maybe the Rapunzel is a bit too RNG, but whatever. And then the final deck, so Ramp Dragon. So I mean, right away, Hishi Akabona, my girl. It's probably one of my favorite cons. It's playing at 10 HP, and it's got 10/10. So like in a lot of boards, you can just slam this, and like it doesn't matter if they can hit your face, because like if they can't clear this, they're just dead, and they can't kill you because you just healed for 10. And even if they do clear it, you can just sort of like conflag them the next turn or whatever, or you can play its refill, clear their board, and you're like really far ahead. So again, they're running with 1 copy of Nice Way, which I really like. They're running Execution instead of Lightning Blast. Oh no, they're running Lightning Blast and they're running Execution. I think the way they managed to do this was they cut a copy of Rika Kashimoto, and then they cut a copy of Olivia and a copy of Conflict to fit everything else in. Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously it worked for him on the day. I don't know if I would cut Conflict from 3 though, considering the current meta, but if you draw when you need it, I guess it's fine. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the 3 BSFs. I've been talking for a huge amount of time. I'm pretty sure my brain is fried, but hopefully that helped you guys out. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.